articulating. I mean, you used that.
And ideas, some of the ideas that you've
so that would be good, actually. We probably should go back through the. Do you want to go back through the slides just as a prompt? If you want to.
Yeah, Chris, can I ask a question? Very important. From this entire plot, what percentage will you be considering to be commercial, retail, business, or what's the percentage you are looking to consider to be residential?
We don't have a split just now.
You have, but is it? You have in your mind it's going to be a combination of those? Won't be, or are you looking at to be just more as a business development area? And
I think it'd be unfair to say we have a set view because we don't really. But I think, given how we normally approach projects, it's always a mix of uses. It's never just residential. It's never just commercial. It's always a mix of uses.
If you're on a mission for planning application for early next year, you should develop something in your mind what you're going to develop with that.
But you've seen the options that have been generated so far.
Yeah.
We didn't say to the community, you have to in each option generate 500,000 square feet of floor space. But what we said was that the more stuff you get on the site, the more likely it is to happen. If you want to generate an option which just has 2-story on it because you like it, it's never going to happen. So be realistic and try to think about sustainability in its widest sense, about what is going to support ground floor activity, shops or small scale shops and retail uses or other things. What is the potential capacity of the site that people would be happy with, would be comfortable with, that would also ultimately be viable and be deliverable. But we weren't asking them to say it's got to be 14 stories that we were looking at before, because that would never get consent again.
What's your sense about drawing a kind of community and stakeholders' eye to these kinds of additional challenges? Because obviously, everybody's averse with the notion of kind of rolling out the master plan and saying, well, what do you think of that? And you've shown us these options, which all show the kind of definitive, makeup of that site. And what we're now talking about is something that kind of draws each one of those into a great big long lines and considers kind of incremental change rather than rolling out a master plan. I mean, how confident are you that community and stakeholders also have an interest and are able to buy into that way of thinking about change? Because that's a huge challenge, isn't it? Everybody conceive about refurbishing their sitting room and the kind of image that their new sitting room would like to have. But actually just thinking about making an incremental change, one piece of furniture at a time, is a much more sophisticated thing. And I wonder, how you felt you were positioned to deal with that kind of public engagement with incremental change rather than master plan.
Given that some of those incremental change ideas came from the stakeholders in the community, I think people would be okay with it.
They'd be ready for it.
I think people would prefer to see something other than just buildings falling down just now. We've even said, we've even said, some of the buildings they just can't be saved anymore. They've been left to rack and ruin. Unfortunately, we can't do anything with them. So one of the changes will be there'll be partial demolitions on the site. But that also presents an opportunity to use those cleared areas for a temporary use. And people have given us ideas for that. Could it be car parking? Could it be used for plots? Could it be used for market space?
So the incremental change might in itself be a more inclusive kind of medium for change.
I think so. I think people will get, I hope, because the ideas have come from local people, but I think they will get behind some of those temporary uses. If we can make them commercially viable. If it's going to cost us £1 million to create a space for a market, and it's only going to generate £2,000 a year, then we're not going to do it. But we think that there may be some short-term opportunities that, in the long term, will probably lead to, if we can get, say, 20 containers or something under one of those sheds with artists and creatives working inside them fairly cheaply, because that's a cheap way of doing it, I suppose. You just get containers in and suddenly there's a community there. 10 years' time, they could be the same businesses inside newer buildings elsewhere on the site. So that, but we have to make it viable now, and that's what we're looking at doing. And it's those kind of ideas that people have either given us or they've grasped onto as part of the consultation exercise.